So in this first video, we're going to be taking a look at the Feelworld 7-inch Full HD field monitor. This is model number FW760. Hello everybody, my name is Brian and welcome to Osmo Tips, the place where we like to share tips, tricks and ideas of how to make the most out of your DJI Osmo. So in today's video, we're going to be introducing a new section, a new departure that we call Anything Goes. So basically the objective of this type of video is to review other gear which we know is also useful in filmmaking and help you become a better videographer all round. So in this first video, we're going to be taking a look at the Feelworld 7-inch Full HD field monitor, and it displays at a maximum resolution of 1920 by 1200. So let's take a look at what's inside this box. So very handy, we get a package list, sunshade. So you've got the sunshade here, which is made of plastic on the outside. So it's got a soft fabric inside, which is sure to absorb all the light and protect your screen so that it looks as bright as it can be. And then you've got this Velcro attachment on the outside. You get the usual user manuals in both languages. And then this right here is the actual Feelworld field monitor itself. This is where the battery goes. It's a SONY type of battery. You've got the 1.5 meter HDMI to micro HDMI. You've also got the mini HDMI cable if your camera uses the mini HDMI to full HDMI. It comes with one SONY type lithium ion battery. Then in here, it also comes with a hot shoe mount, as well as little extra bits and pieces, Allen key, screw adapter. Over in this pouch is the, I think that's the battery plate, if you want to fix the battery. And then in here, you get, oh wow, they even give you a free articulating arm or magic arm. Okay, so that's an additional way to mount your monitor. You get a micro USB cable, and then you get this clip-on where this sunshade obviously attaches to. Just like that. Let's put that to one side. And then lastly, you get a battery charger, which is actually a USB type battery charger, which is actually good. So let's go through some of the features. So starting at the base here, you've got a 1/4 inch tripod thread mount right at the base. And as we mentioned, this is where the battery sits in here, just like that. You've got a little speaker right here. Over to the side, you've got a DC 12 volt charging port. You've got the HDMI input. You've got an AV as well as headphone. You've got an OSD controller. And you've got a USB port here for any firmware upgrades. So over to the front here, you've got several buttons, including the menu button, the function buttons, and obviously the power on or off. So to switch it on, you hold it down for about 2 seconds. And then you welcomed with the screen. I'm going to bring in this little GoPro camera here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in the micro HDMI cable. We're charging the battery at the same time and we're not going to run out. So I'm simply going to place this camera right over here. So it's basically facing straight outside the window. So all we need to do is to take the other end, which is the full HDMI end, and that's the one that's going to plug straight into the monitor, just like that. Once we do that, we should get the signal. And there we have the signal right there. So let's just do a quick walk through the several menu items just to see how the menus are set up. So all you do is you click the menu button. Once you do that, there are 4 menu items. Each menu item with got its own sub menu, and then you can see obviously which one is highlighted. And to move from one menu item to the other, you basically use these arrow buttons here. So you can scroll right or scroll back down. Once you're in this first sub menu, you then use these down arrow buttons to navigate through picture mode. So picture mode, you can scroll through standard, mild, user. So in user, you can then define, again, by scrolling down, you can define how much brightness you want, how much contrast, saturation. What I find is the predefined standard is pretty good for my use. So I'm going to leave it on standard. Other items further down, you've got the ability to change color temperature. Again, you know, slightly warmer, cooler. So you can cycle through. I'm just going to leave it on user. You can even go as far as defining your own red, green, blue and tint values, but I'm not going to mess around with that. So that's pretty much what you get in the first menu item. Let's go over to the second menu item. Before you move to the next menu item, you need to make sure that none of these sub menus are highlighted. And the way you do that is you click the menu button once more, and then once there's none of these highlighted, then you can scroll to the next menu item. So once we're there, again, it's a similar situation. So you simply scroll down. Obviously here you can change the language. We're not going to mess with that. Aspect ratio, you can choose between auto, which is what I've got selected, 4:3, 16:9, zoom 1, or even a zoom 2. So I'm not going to mess with that. I'm just going to leave it on auto. No signal, blue screen, red screen. This is to choose whether, you know, when you've got no signal, whether you want to see a blue screen or a red screen. I'm okay with the blue screen. I'm not going to change that at all. OSD, translucence. I think this is to do with the with the transparency of the on-screen displays. You can see there we're on low now. You can obviously go to the middle or high transparency where it's almost see-through. But I'm going to leave it on off because I really like to see it in solid color. Let's scroll down. OSD H, let's see what that does. So that just moves your menu to the left or right. I'm going to leave it on 50. If we scroll down, that moves it down or up. Again, I'm simply going to leave it on 50. Then if we go to camera mode, let's see what that does. So camera mode off, 480p, 1080i. So you're cycling through the different resolutions that are available. So I'm simply going to leave that on off because we're okay with the way it looks right now. This gives you an option to zoom into the picture. You know, as I keep punching in, you can see how much is zooming in. And I think this goes up to 100. You get the idea. I don't want to zoom in, so I'm going to go all the way down to all the way back to 0. Okay. Next menu item, on-screen display time. So you can set how long you want the menu to remain on. If no buttons are pressed, 10 seconds or 20 seconds or 30 seconds, or you want to leave it off. If it's off, then the menu is going to stay on for as long as you haven't pressed any other button. And obviously to get rid of it, you just press the menu button again. So again, this is the ability to zoom in different directions, you know, vertically, horizontally, but I'm pretty happy with leaving it all the zoom functions on 0. You can increase the amount of backlight 100%, or you can reduce that. As you can see, if you reduce it, our picture gets a little bit dull. So I'm going to leave it on, I think it was around 90. We're going to leave it at around 90. Power on, auto, manual. I'm going to leave it on auto. And then this is if you want to upgrade the firmware. And then this one is to reset to factory values. And I think that's everything you get in the second menu item. So again, remember to move on to the third menu, click menu first with none of these sub menus highlighted, then you click to go right. And then now we go again down, center marker. So you've got a choice to put it on or off. That's a little center marker right there. We're gonna leave it off. We don't need that. The next item here is save frames. It's currently set on off. So if you want to set it on, as you can see, you've got the ability to set the red border there is telling you this is 80% save frame. So if you want to really frame your image, you compose your image properly, you can use these save zones. Or you can increase it to 85%, 90%, 93%. You get the idea. So I'm going to switch that back to off. Let's go down to the next menu item, image freeze. For some reason, you can choose to freeze your image. If you're shooting video, you just want to freeze it on a particular frame. So that's how you do it on. I'm going to leave it on off. Let's go down, image flip. If we do that, obviously we flip that vertically, horizontally, vertical flip, and off. So again, I'm going to leave it on off. Check field, let's see what that does. Oh, this is just to cycle through the different color profiles. If you want your image to be red, blue, or off, I'm going to leave it on off. P2P, no idea what that is, but I suppose it's got something to do with, honestly don't know what that is. Histogram, this one is really useful. So if you turn it on, you can see the histogram popping over on the right there. Next one is false colors. Let's see what that does. So false colors basically gives you the ability to view exposed areas or areas that are in the shadows, very dark areas, using these vivid, what are called false colors basically. So you've got the ability to turn that on or off. If you make sense of that, if you want to see your exposure using that method, you can obviously use it that way. Going down, zoom, 4x zoom. So this is just kind of giving you the ability to zoom in very quickly by 16 times, 4 times, 9 times, 16 times. I'm going to leave that on off. The next one is to choose whether you want anamorphic aspect ratio. So 1.3 times, 2 times. So you can see it really gives you so many options in which to view your image. Now this one is probably one of my favorite, focus assist, but we probably won't see it that well because the GoPro is always in focus. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly switch the cables around so that the camera that I'm using to shoot this screen, because that camera can focus in and out, and you can see how the focus assist actually works. Okay, so I've now plugged in the HDMI cable from the monitor. This is now plugged into the camera that I'm currently using to record everything. Just to show you how focus assist works. So we're going to turn on focus assist just like that. So now, and we're going to get rid of the menu just so you can see clearly. So what's happening is all the areas that are in focus currently appear with the red tint around them. So if we go to the GoPro, for instance, it's currently out of focus because there's hardly any areas that are, highlighted in red. But if we do that, then we can see that we're in critical focus right now because all of that is now appearing in red. Okay, so we're back to the original setup. Let me go back into the menu. So let's go to where we were. Focus peaking. So we currently have it on. And then you also have the ability to change your focus peaking color from red to green to blue. I personally prefer red when I'm using it. So I'm going to go back up and turn our focus assist off for now. Overexposure. Now this, also called zebra lines, has got the ability to show you areas of the image that are overexposed. And you can also choose the threshold, exposure threshold. You can increase that, which is really good, or reduce that. So as you can see, as I reduce it, I'm starting to see the zebra lines appearing in areas of the image that are overexposed. So that's really cool. So I'm going to leave that on about 80. But again, because we're using a GoPro which has got auto exposure, a lot of the image is actually going to be at the correct exposure, so we're not going to see much of that working. Let's go back up. Overexposure, I'm going to turn that off for now. That was the threshold. Embedded audio. Now, this is a great feature. If you turn that on, you see now we're starting to get these audio meters, which are really great because it gives you an immediate readout of your audio levels. And when you're recording audio, this is absolutely great. And because you know your HDMI cable is obviously bringing the audio, so whatever camera you connected to this monitor, that microphone which is connected to that camera, so these are the level of audios that it's indicating to you. That is really one feature I'm going to use a lot of. So let's leave that on for now. Let's move on to the next one. 9 block. So 9 block basically splits your image into 9 blocks, as you can see there. And then you can zoom in. Let's say you want to zoom in to where these cars are parked. So you simply use this right arrow button until you get to that part of the image. And then you use the down arrow to zoom into that particular part of the grid. And then to zoom out, you can do that. So again, if you want to zoom into these plants here. So yeah, there could be uses for this. And this is one of the little annoying things that I'm finding, you know, each time you're in a menu or a sub menu to go, when you come out of that item, it pretty much goes back to the default menu. So this is just the little annoying thing that I'm finding here. But other than that, you know, it's pretty decent. Ratio marker, let's see what that does. Oh yeah, it just gives you portions of your image that are 4:3, 13:9. So it's got several different aspect ratios right here. So we're going to leave that off. You can also choose the color of the mark, whether you want red or green. So if you choose green, for example, then we're marking that in green. But like I said, I'm going to leave that off. Green is fine. The width of the marker, you can increase that. So there's so many things you can do here. So the very last item here is one of my favorite features. Again, this gives you the ability to customize these 4 buttons here: F1, F2, F3, F4. So to see how these work, so at the moment these are mapped to check field. F1, F2 is focus assist, F3 is histogram. So for me, you know, I'm pretty okay with this, but it's very easy to customize. If you want to change any one of these, simply go into the first one there. So instead of check field, you can then choose, let's say we want that to be the center marker. So you simply do that. Center marker, you simply click menu to accept. So now we've remapped the F1 button to be the center marker. And to see how that works, you got to get out of the menu. And then if you click F1, center marker is, so it toggles center marker off and center marker on, and we can see that right there. F2, if you recall, was focus assist, so you can toggle it off or on. F3, I believe, was the histogram. There, that's off, and now it's on. And then F4, I think, was the false colors. And that, in a nutshell, is basically all the features of this monitor. So really impressive features. Now, just before we take it outside, I just want to do a quick comparison to how a similar brand would actually fare. So I've got this Aputure brand here. I'm now going to do a side-by-side comparison. So the kind of things I'm looking out for is the image definition. So we're using the same GoPro camera. So look at the clarity in the clouds. Look at the definition in the plants here. We're looking at that. Looking at these shadows, how well defined those are. These vehicles in the background. And so that just gives you a feel of the Feelworld, excuse the pun. And so now I'm going to swap over to put the Aputure, same conditions, same camera, So this is what it looks like with the Aputure VS2 monitor. So again, let's look at the same areas. It's not as well defined in the clouds there as it was with the Feelworld. These plants look quite mushed up. The shadows there, it's not really good dynamic range between the shadows, between the shadow areas and the light areas. There's not that much of a dynamic range between those two. So this just gives you a direct comparison. No doubt, Feelworld knocks Aputure out the park. All right, let's now take it outside and have a look at how it fares with the Sunshade. So the first thing, if you want to connect the hood, is to basically clip this on here. So this clips in place quite nicely. So you've got these little places where it basically clips in like that. That there, that there, that there, and that one there as well. So we've got that nicely hooked up. And then once you've done that, all you have to do then is to put your sunshade on just like that. And as you can see, so it's pretty effective at what it does. Okay, now it's time for me to walk you through what I liked and what I didn't like about this Feelworld FW760 field monitor, 7-inch Full HD field monitor. So the first thing, the build quality of this monitor is really impressive. Although you feel that it's plastic, but it doesn't feel cheap at all. It really feels well put together. Everything works. I mean, all the clips clip into place nicely. The buttons are pretty tactile. There's no issues there whatsoever. So, you know, thumbs up for the build quality. Second thing I really liked is obviously the quality itself. I mean, the brightness of this LCD is really quite impressive. You know, I've used quite a few monitors over the past few years. The one that I'm using now actually is the Aputure. I was actually using the Aputure VS2, and I really thought this was the best that I could get for the kind of budget that I had in mind for this monitor. But when I compare these two, I mean, the quality on the Feelworld just blows the Aputure out of the water. And you saw some of the shots that I showed you side by side. The next thing I really liked about this monitor is it came with so many extras. I mean, we're talking of the sunshades, the sun hoods, we're talking of articulating arms, we're talking of hot shoe mounts, we're talking of even two different types of HDMI cables, whether you're using a mini or a micro. So you're all covered, you know, for all connectivity and for all mounting purposes. So that's really a big plus. The next thing I really liked is it's packed full of features and functions, some of which I actually will use, like the focus assist is really great. The stereo audio monitoring is fantastic, allowing me to monitor the audio in real time. That really is a big plus. The histogram is obviously another really nice feature. The zebra stripes, I mean, the list goes on and on and on. There are obviously some other functions which I don't think I'm going to use them because I just don't find the use for them. But a lot of these features are really practical features which you do use on a day-to-day basis, which I really like. The next thing is I really love these 4 custom buttons here. So just the ability to quickly get to some of the favorite functions like autofocus, like focus assist, turning your histogram on and off, false colors. That really makes operating this monitor quick and easy. One other subtle thing I really liked is the fact that you have all your connecting ports right here on the side. This is much better for me because most of the time I'm facing the monitor, so I want to be able to quickly access these ports, whether I want to connect my headphones or I want to connect the HDMI cable. You know, it's all there on the side, as opposed to having your connectors at the back, as in the case with this Aputure VS2. So that, again, for me, is a definite advantage. Next, I'm going to talk about probably the most favorite thing I love the most about this monitor, and that is the cost. So when you check it out on Amazon UK, it's currently ranging between £139 and £145. Now that is really affordable, considering the amount of features packed into this unit and the quality that I've seen coming out of it. That just really is good value for money. By comparison, the Aputure VS2 is about £100 more, so it's ranging at about £239. So comparing like for like, you're getting much better value from the FW760. So those are all of the things that I really loved about the FW760, but there are other things that I didn't like at all. The first one has got to be the menu navigation system. I think it's really clunky. It takes some getting used to, just, you know, the fact that you've got to be toggling between the menu, the right button, left, the up, down, you know, it takes quite a while to get used to it, and even after using it for a couple of hours, I still was finding it quite difficult to quickly be able to get to some of the menu items that I wanted to. So what I think is a better system is the Aputure. It's got kind of like a joystick system where you can easily, you know, scroll down, scroll up using pretty much a joystick type of system. So I think this system actually performs better just in terms of navigating through the menu. So that was a negative. Also related to the menu system, which I've already highlighted earlier on, is the fact that sometimes when you are right deep inside a menu or a sub menu or a sub menu and you're trying to come out of that, you are thrown all the way back to the default menu screen. Now, everything around the menu system could be optimized. The last thing I didn't like is the fact that there's no carrying case, so everything, you know, comes obviously in this box here, as opposed to the Aputure, which comes in this really nice carry case. You might also argue that the Aputure has probably a better quality sunshade, but you know, the one that the FW760 comes with is also really does a good job as well. So I mean, there's no real basis for comparison. Maybe the fact that this comes in 2 parts, but again, it's very easy to assemble. So other than that, you know, I really think this is an impressive monitor. And like I said, I've been using the Aputure all along, and I think I'm definitely switching to this one just because there's just a little bit more bells and whistles to it. The quality looks great, the picture looks great, and so far it hasn't let me down. So I hope you enjoyed this first of our Anything Goes series of videos where we feature additional accessories that may not relate directly to the Osmo, but are also part and parcel of the video maker's toolkit. So let me know in the section down below what other types of video related gear you'd like us to review and bring you detailed reviews such as this, hands-on experience, hands-on testing, comparing like for like, and giving you our honest opinion, fact-based opinion that you can actually see as we go through the tests and you make up your own mind. So if you haven't already done so, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and also don't forget to ring the bell, because that's the way you're gonna get alerts every time we publish a fresh video such as this one. So thanks so much for sticking around to this point, because I know it's been quite a long video, but hopefully you got some value out of that, and I'll see you in the next video.